Have you ever sat in your favorite chair, coffee warming your hands, and noticed how the house seems almost too quiet? Not the peaceful kind of quiet that once felt like rest. No, this quiet feels different. It doesn't refresh you, it presses on your chest, lingers in the air, and follows you from room to room. Days slip into weeks. The phone doesn't ring. The doorbell stays silent. And suddenly, you're asking yourself a question you never thought you'd need to ask. Where did everyone go? You gave so much. Late nights with families, early mornings making lunches, hours of homework, concerts, games, heartbreaks. You gave your patience, your energy, your youth. And now, so much of that feels like it only exists in memory. If this strikes a chord with you, let me tell you something. You are far from alone. There's a kind of grief many older adults, especially mothers, carry quietly. It isn't the grief of losing a person, it's the grief of losing presence. And it hurts because it makes you question your place in the lives you helped build. But here's what I want you to hold on to: that silence does not define your worth. You do not disappear simply because others stop looking. So today, I want to walk you through 7 powerful steps, not tricks to manipulate or guilt anyone into calling again, but ways to reclaim your center, your dignity, and your peace. Before we dive in, if you find comfort in honest conversations like this, hit subscribe. We share stories that don't just pass time, they help make sense of it. Stop chasing, start centering. When someone you love begins to drift, your natural instinct is to close the gap. You call more, you send reminders, you keep offering help. It feels like if you just try harder, they'll notice. But if all that effort is fueled by emptiness, it doesn't heal. You just sink deeper into longing. You are not a background singer in someone else's story. You are the lead in your own. So instead of spending that energy chasing, turn it inward. Ask yourself questions most of us forget to ask. How do I want to feel today? What would bring me peace right now? What do I deserve at this stage of life? At first, those questions might feel foreign, selfish even. But the truth is, asking them is how you begin to build a foundation that no silence can shake. I once spoke with a woman named Marianne. For years, she waited by the phone every Sunday afternoon, convinced her kids would call. Some weeks they did. Most weeks they didn't. One day she realized she'd spent half her Sunday holding her breath. She put the phone down, joined a photography class, and started walking each morning with neighbors. The calls didn't come more often, but she stopped depending on them for joy. She noticed her life again. That's what it means to center yourself. Stop justifying what hurts. We're raised to excuse the behavior of people we love. They're busy, they're overwhelmed, they'll come around. Maybe that's true, but if you always cushion the pain with excuses, you start to believe it's normal to be forgotten. It's okay to tell the truth, even if it stings. Saying, "I feel left out," doesn't make you needy. It makes you honest. The next time you hear yourself whisper, "It's fine," when it isn't, pause. Take a slow breath, then tell yourself, "No, it's not okay. I deserve better than this." You don't need to confront anyone, but you do need to stop silencing your own heart. That's where healing begins. I remember speaking with a grandfather named Harold. He confessed that every time his son cancelled plans, he shrugged it off with, "Oh, work must be busy." But deep down, it hurt. The day Harold admitted aloud, "That makes me feel forgotten," he said, it was like a weight lifted. Nothing changed overnight, but for the first time, he felt free from pretending. Redefine the bond. without needing presence. For decades, you were the center of your children's lives. You were there, constant. And now, they're distant, caught in their own orbit. That change can feel brutal, but your love isn't gone. It just has to evolve. Think of it as a garden you cared for faithfully. You watered, weeded, nurtured. Now your children may not visit that garden as often, but you don't have to let it die. You can honor it, not because of what it gives you today, but because of what it once grew. You can still be their parent without measuring that role by how often the phone rings. That's not detachment. It's love transformed into something that protects your peace. I once met a man named Joseph who turned his grief into giving. After years of waiting for calls that rarely came, he started a small woodworking group in his garage. He taught neighborhood kids how to build birdhouses, and every weekend, the sound of laughter filled his yard. His own children didn't visit often, but Joseph found new ways to share the same fatherly love without waiting for permission to give it. Release the guilt narrative. Silence is cruel because it makes room for guilt. The mind whispers, maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe this distance is punishment for the mistakes I made. We all remember our stumbles, the sharp words, the times we were too tired, the moments we wish we could redo. But guilt is not the same as truth. Yes, you may have fallen short at times. Every parent does. But don't forget the thousands of acts of love no one clapped for. The meals stretched on thin budgets, the midnight car rides, the sacrifices only you know. Those count. They always have. So when silence tries to turn into shame, talk back to it. I did my best with what I had. That is enough. One woman I knew, Rosa, wrote down every failure she could remember as a mother. When the list was done, she forced herself to write a second list. Every sacrifice she'd made. That second list filled 3 pages, and for the first time, she cried not from shame, but from recognition. Break the usefulness pact. Too many of us live by an invisible pact. If I stay useful, I'll stay loved. We grow into the role of fixer, peacemaker, provider, always saying yes, always giving. But that's not love, that's conditional loyalty. And you, my friend, are not a condition to be bargained with. You are valuable even when you're not busy, even when you're not solving problems. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but try saying, "Not this time." Say it softly, without anger, but firmly enough that you feel the strength in your own voice. That single boundary can begin to untangle years of quiet self-erasure. I knew a woman named Denise who spent years driving an hour each way to babysit her grandkids, even when she was exhausted. One day, she finally said, "Not this weekend." She told me she expected guilt, but what she felt was relief. She realized her worth wasn't tied to being endlessly available. Don't heal in silence. Loneliness is heaviest when it's hidden. Too many women believe that to admit they feel forgotten is weakness. So they stay busy, they smile, and at night, the ache is still there. But healing often requires another person, someone to witness you, someone to remind you that you're still here. That could be a close friend, a faith group, a counselor, or even one neighbor who checks in over morning coffee. I think of Margaret, a widow who whispered to a woman at church, "I miss being needed." That single sentence bloomed into walks, dinners, and eventually a circle of women who became her lifeline. You don't need dozens of people. You just need one or two who see you, not for what you can do, but for who you are. Choose how you want to be seen. Finally, one of the most important questions you'll ever ask yourself: how do I want to be seen, even if no one else is looking? This isn't about appearances, it's about identity. When you look in the mirror, do you see someone waiting by the phone, or someone who has survived storm after storm and is still standing? This is your time to decide. To say, I don't need permission to live. I don't need to shrink to be accepted. I don't need validation to shine. That choice might look like lighting a candle in the morning just for you, signing up for a class you always wanted, wearing colors that make you feel alive, speaking your truth, even if your voice shakes. Because from now on, your worth is not measured in missed calls. Your worth is measured in how fully you choose to live the life still in front of you. Yes, you may still feel the pangs. At the park, when you see families gathered. At a neighbor's door, when their child shows up with flowers. Your heart may ache because you're human, and because you have loved deeply. But that ache doesn't have to rule your life. It can be a reminder of how much love you're still capable of giving to yourself, to your friends, to your community. Maybe tomorrow morning, you step outside with your coffee, breathe in the crisp air, and notice the light shifting through the trees. Maybe you watch the seasons turn, the first blossoms of spring, the warmth of summer evenings, the gold of autumn leaves, and remind yourself that change is natural, even in families. And maybe you light a candle, not for anyone else, not for any occasion, but to mark your own presence in this world. A declaration: I am here, I matter, and I will not fade quietly. If these words stirred something in you, I want to invite you to do two things. First, in the comments, write, I no longer wait to be seen. Let that be your own promise to yourself. And second, if this message brought you strength, subscribe to Living with Wisdom. This community exists to remind you that you are not invisible, not forgotten, and never too late to live a life that feels like your own again. So here's to you, to the woman rebuilding from the quiet, to the woman no longer measuring her worth by missed calls, to the woman choosing herself fully, freely, and without apology. And above all, here's to living wisely and living well at every age.